Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
We are at war. Hoorah! War is what guardsmen pray for.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Steven Ford. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
So we've got, there's a 40K Codex on the horizon. How about that?
What?
Yeah, I know. It's been so long. They left us without a dope beat.
Without a dope beat.
Lots of stuff going on. Big news. Well, soon to be big news coming out of England, I'm sure. So there will be a big preview from Games Workshop this weekend. So I feel like it's the crescendo of the hobby is starting to ramp up because it's about to be summertime. And we got all these dope new releases coming out from all sorts of different companies, actually. I don't know. How you guys feeling?
We got new releases coming out? Okay. I've heard about Harlequins, but what else besides that?
Well, on the G-Dub side of things, we got Harlequins for sure. At some point, they actually kind of took them back. They were supposed to, according to White Dwarf, they're supposed to go on pre-order this weekend, but they did not submit that out to retailers. So your guess is as good as mine at this point. We also know that Knights are on deck, rumored to be the last Codex available before the next major tournament here in America, the ATCs.
That's got to be the ATC. But in all reality, man, I'm not down with any kind of book, especially with what the big FAQ just came out and said, talking about assaulting and the ruins and all. I don't want any kind of book. I don't think it's going to affect ATC, whatever, because that's where my mindset is, with a bunch of 500-point models that can't assault ruins, that have to be, anything else like that. So I don't believe that one's going to be on the horizon.
Oh, well, that's it. Yeah, you're right. That's actually, you just reminded me, Juice, of one of the first 8th edition battle reports I ever watched from Frontline Gaming. When they were doing all that playtest in the beginning, they had remember the Wraith Knights, how they were like the big boogeyman of 7th edition, how OP they were.
Mm-hmm.
And they were playing it in one of their first battle reports, and they were commenting about how they couldn't do anything with it. They're like, it's never going to assault. I had to go around ruins because I don't have fly. I can't go through walls. He's got a scout squad in that building I can't get to. So I got this big 500-point dude who can kick the shit out of people in close combat who can only shoot. So I'm only doing one thing.
Literally, I'm eye to eye with you with your 1.5-inch model, and I am 9 inches tall. I'm eye to eye with you, and I can't touch you.
So yeah, definitely. I would say I feel you on that, but I'm there has to be we got all these. The big FAQ obviously fucked us in a lot of ways, right? But with the big base size and how they need to be played, I agree with you. I would not play with that unit, no matter what they did. Practically, who's got a chain sword? It's got the happy dance attack, all that crazy shit. There's got to be something. They're gonna have to get something more akin to 7th edition, 6th edition ruins, because it's unplayable. It's unplayable with a 120 millimeter base to even assault 2 of them into one unit practically. And if somebody's just sort of in a building, that's garbage, man. And I don't know what the solution there is. Rob, you have any ideas? What?
Well, there's a bunch of different ideas. I think what is it now currently, if you're a vehicle, it just can't happen. Yeah, you got to have fly to even get up there, and there has to be space available to you. So good luck getting a knight on top of a ruin and 120 millimeter
impossible.
Base.
The knight actually cannot get on top of the ruin because he's
a vehicle, right? They can't fly. So the only other maybe solution there would be some sort of mechanic where you introduce both horizontal and vertical measuring.
Overhaul of the rules.
Yeah, some sort of overhaul. Remember when in 5th edition, and I think this was the whole INAT, if you guys remember INAT, that was a big FAQ system that was voted on by a bunch of different community leaders, that one of the things was that if you had a barricade, you had 2 models between a barricade, and they literally could not assault each other. But now we have range, so that's a little bit different. But maybe applying some of that logic to, hey, if you're within this far or you're within this far, I'm making horizontal and vertical measurements with my hands, that you are allowed to interface now
Okay, so all right, so fine. So underneath what both you guys are trying to say, because I'm telling you, I am not down with some. But I want knights to be good. I own like 7, right? But I am so far gone from them just because of all this cool shit that I've been playing. Fine. Underneath this premise, that if you tell me that knights can assault, maybe they can't move, they can assault something 6 inches away. Their base is on the ground and they can go high, they can go long, they can do whatever else. They have some ability to assault that breaks the game mechanics what they're doing now.
But like,
right?
they're never going to overhaul. That's the thing, is like, they're not going to create new rules, right? So that it's playable, right? I mean, that's pretty, that's intense, right? I mean, like,
well, traditionally in the past, we at the beginning of the 8th edition, we're like, they need to fix all these things, and then cleverly they came out with very different, clever ways to apply rules, either using like the whole boots on the ground thing, or command points, or so there's a lot of different ways they could go about it, and it would only apply to knights. Because like you said, if you're Godzilla and you are literally looking at this dude, why can you not punch him with your fist?
You got to do something. So what you're saying is that you're talking about using the phrase that Kenny has coined a lot about is utilizing resources.
Yes, resources.
To be able to reach out and do something
real quick,
to make me happy.
Let me jump in on this. So like this, Bane and Wolf in chat, we do this live, guys, if you listen to this podcast. He's like, as long as the model can get within an inch of the target unit, he can attack even if the unit is at the top of a room, because the model, not the base within an inch. That's not true. I'm sorry to tell you. We covered that last week. We broke down the section of the rules, the little weird box that exists in there.
It's like off in the margin of the very first page of rules, that under a heading that you would not expect it to be.
So yeah, I'm sorry. There was also a full meme 2 weeks ago when the big air quotes FAQ dropped of Night Titans and stuff like that, saying, "Oh, I have to get within inches." Them turning their model on the side, so their base is actually going up, saying, "Now I'm within an inch." Right, of the base, because I turned my damn model sideways. Right, but
or memes of a guy standing on a barrel and nobody could charge them. Like
I think what Bane of Night is saying is a possible solution.
As a solution, that's how in 6th edition, that's how it was. You actually, once you were in combat in a ruin, we had a lot more robust rules in 6th edition. It basically stated that you could attack up to 6 inches vertically into a ruin. And you can measure, and you were measuring, it literally said you're measuring from the top of the model to the bottom of the model's base. Like, it literally gave us a special set of rules to fight in a ruin abstractly. Now, I would like to see that rule come back, right? But the thing is, we've been preaching terrain fixes since the dawn of this new edition, how we could just go back to 4th edition terrain and there would be no fucking issues with this edition in the terrain whatsoever. GW has put out multiple FAQs, big FAQs, erratas, everything. They have not addressed terrain. They don't care. Terrain is not changing. So we can't expect there to be any type of overhaul of how close combat exists in ruins, especially when they're putting FAQs to make it even harder. So the only way I would ever play a fucking model that was 500 points that can be killed in one turn by practically any army in the world, that never gets to fucking use his big ass chain axe in close combat if there's one fucking ruin in the middle of the table, is if there was a way to fight in that ruin. And I don't know what the solution is, but I know that I pitch and I believe in the addition of rules, not the removal of rules. And we talked about Overwatch last week. And while we think that Overwatch should become a stratagem using resources, they gave us all these new resources. So I don't know what the solution is, but I'd like to see there be a resource to where the knight can do exactly what Bane of Night was saying, where he could look at you and fight you. Like, I would like to see all monstrous creatures, all titanic vehicles have access to a universal ability that let them do that and not get neutered by a fucking wall that a guardsman can crawl through, but fucking Demon Prince can't smash through.
So my last point on this whole thing is the concept of saying from the base, not the model. I don't want that for anybody in the game anymore. I'm so sick of it. Mm-hmm. I hate the fact that when we're talking about things like, oh, you have to measure with the flyers. You measure the weapon from the weapon that's over the base, but when you measure everything else to the flyers to the base itself, right? So I hate that aspect. I do believe that a clear-cut variable that is never unchanging, there's never anything else, measure everything from the damn base. Let's build a rule system and structure to build everything that happens around that base. Now, if you want to make suitable changes from that, then fine, do it. If that means that you need
data sheet,
but it needs to be either in the stratagem, the data sheet, anything else like that. Measure from the damn base, so then everything is the same. That way, my last cannon that 6 over, my Night Titan's head. Then it comes. So I'm just going to put a scenario out there. I have a Lancer. Now I'm spending 5 minutes of my time figuring out what part of the model, over his shield, over his head, over his sword, over anything else. Like, no. I ain't got time for that. Let's get rid of the 1 inch then. Give me 6 inches, give me 8 inches, give me 4 inches, something like that from the actual base itself.
Yeah. No, I think those would all be really good points. And hopefully we see it because, I like knights. I got all these knights.
It's one of
I want to play with knights.
It's actually, it's one of the things that I was actually recently talking about with my friend Chris, who's coming out to a tournament here locally, Next Gen Game and Comics, my locals out here. We got a tournament on the 26th. He's talking about making the drive down from Irvine. He's like, yo, I want to play my Wraith Knight. We just had this conversation. And he was like, yo, how do you feel about that? I was like, I feel like if there's one ruin in the table, like I will frustrate you for fucking 2 hours. I will frustrate you for 2 fucking hours. You won't be able to do shit, dude.
Knights are
and he was like, fuck, you're right. Cause I broke it down for him and he was like, that's ridiculous. I was like, yeah, it is ridiculous. There's no mechanic. There needs to that's what I'm saying. Is like GW just gave us extra resources, aka command points. GW, let's get some more universal stratagems. Like, let's get some more deep strike stratagems. Like, we pitched an Overwatch stratagem. I talked to David about it. When we talked to David, his idea was using the stratagem 2 command points in your shooting phase instead of shooting. And that in either the assault phase or the fight phase, your choice, you can shoot as if it was the shooting phase in the opponent's fight phase or charge phase. So that means any shooting like buffs. So that way you get around the whole it's the shooting. It's not the shooting phase. So you can target this. You can target that. No. It's still the shooting phase. So people can still use units to screen characters, but you still get to use all your little shooting phase bonuses and stuff like that. You don't get to somehow miraculously bypass everything. If there's a unit of scouts charging in, you don't get to ignore them to shoot the character over there. So I was like, David might be onto something. So there's one universal stratagem for Overwatch, full ballistic skill. We were talking about a universal stratagem for anti-infiltration, which would just be servo skulls. So everyone would have access to the same denial abilities, the same powerful abilities. Instead of having to change rules and hurt people and nerf people, you just give boons to everybody else to make them equal in some way that's flavorful to them. Now, we're not saying balance this game perfectly. We're saying give people somewhat equal tools. And I would like to see a universal stratagem for Titanic vehicles or monster creatures or something that can make them a little bit less shitty when a fucking single ruin is in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my soapbox. That's how I feel about them.
No, that's good. Well, anyways, let's talk about some stuff that we know and that we know is coming soon, right? So as far as Tabletop Market Watch goes, we were supposed to see Harlequin Codex go on pre-order and stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's pushed back a week. If they push it back a week, it's going to go on pre-order and come out Memorial Day weekend. I don't know. We'll find out more this weekend, but they did change it. It has been changed. They made announcements about it. Don't know what's going on. So there's that. So this weekend, going on pre-order are the 2 units, the Alkean Guard, which are the eels for the Deepkin, the Eel Riders, the 2-pack for $50.
So we're missing. So they've got sharks, eels. So we're missing grouper, stingrays, or do we have stingrays already?
No, I don't think we do. We don't have mances or stingrays.
So
actually.
We need humpback whales, stingrays, and grouper. Got it.
Also out this week is the sharks with freaking lasers for $45. The Alloplex.
Alloplex.
Allopex. All of the pecs.
All the peck. I want you to know, way to randomly have 7 guys in a room, pick up random letters and throw them against the wall and saw what stick. That's how you come up with that name.
I mean, it's a shark with a freaking laser.
Acolin Alloplex.
Yeah, I think you said it. You nailed it.
There it is.
Nailed it. So $45 for that bad boy. Horse Heresy Wolvesbane novel, hardback, $30. Black Shield's audiobook, which I guess goes along with the Deathwatch for $17.50. On the FFG side of things, they just put the new Commander, Princess Leia, on pre-order or coming soon. Either way, she's $12.95. You can pick her up. They did an in-depth preview of her. And Snow Troopers actually release this week. So their thing is they can, when they move, they get a chance to shoot, but they only move one, I think. So you'd have to double move them or whatever. So they're a little bit better, and they have a little bit more specialized weapons than the normal Stormtroopers. They just look better.
I like it. I'm actually excited to see what Princess Leia does, considering we've seen in some of the new Star Wars how she can hold her breath in space. So I wonder which Princess Leia we're going to get. Are we going to get like episode 5, or 6, where she's on a barge tied up, or is she going to be shot out of a spaceship and holding her breath in space?
Juice, are you some kind of pussy that can't hold his breath in space?
Let me tell you what, some people will hold their breath in space. Other people will shit themselves in space. That's the one I'm at.
So those are all the new releases. And then, of course, coming out this weekend, where you can actually walk in a store and buy it, is the Deathwatch. Dun, dun, dun.
So excited for this.
Yeah. Where do we start?
Deathwatch, the new Custodes.
Our Deathwatch OP question mark.
Deathwatch don't suck.
.com.
Truth.
So we're going to talk about those intercessor squads that everybody already knows good. And
we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about stratagems.
No? Okay. Just the stratagems. Just the stratagems.
Hey, literally, the name of the episode is all the stratagems.
I vote for no strats.
So it was crazy to see 100%. This book has only got and Deathwatch in all reality is traditionally only 7 units, 5 units. It's not even like it's that many units.
Yeah,
right?
I guess it was. You had Termies, you had bikers, you had assault squads. You had
the Corvus
leaders,
Black Star.
The Black Star.
Right.
Banner
so,
Dreadnought.
But so it was a very, very small, but in all reality, they still came strong in the stratagem game. How many, where are we at on those?
I think 27.
I mean, that's unbelievable. It's 3 full pages.
You just say 27 strats?
7,
my
17, word. 27. Yeah, it's 27.
Holy shit.
27.
Well, Rob.
Plus a full complement of warlord traits, relics. Yeah, I guess I best get to reading, huh?
Yeah, Rob, please lead us in a very elegantly laid out NPR style discussion.
I have one job. It's to read.
A lot of words.
All right. So first up is a 1 command point. And by the way, something that we should talk about. These are all Deathwatch stratagem keyword. Deathwatch is not a keyword that you can just shoehorn.
It's not a chapter / legion / high fleet keyword. It is
right.
That's something that to note. So you can't just be like, oh, this Forge World unit that has chapter and brackets, I can just select Deathwatch. That is not currently how it reads.
Right, unless they come out and say that this weekend, which they might, which would be cool. But as of right now, that's not a real thing. So just FYIs out there. So first up, Armor of Contempt. It's a 1 command point stratagem. Use this stratagem when a Deathwatch vehicle from your army suffers a mortal wound. Roll a d6 for that mortal wound and each other mortal wound inflicted on this model for the rest of the phase. On a 5-up, that mortal wound is ignored.
That's a clone of a Marine one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Black Templars, I think.
There's a few of those.
Access to it.
Same with Auspex Scan. We all know what that does.
All Space Marines pretty much have that one. With a good combo for that one, anybody who's listening for the first time, is you can actually combo that with Sacred Fortress, the psychic power. So that gives you a 5-up against psychic mortal wounds. This one gives you a 5-up against all mortal wounds. And so you can have both your bases covered if you're really not trying to lose this Redemptor Dreadnought right now to certain vicious combos. I've had this done to me, and with a combination of Smite and Decimators. But so they were able to cover multiple bases and not let me just ace things with mortal wounds. It's a really useful strat in the right situation.
Yeah, and I mean, if I that'd be good. We were talking about Knights earlier. That'd be good if Knights had got something like that, because I feel like they're all vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good one. 2 command points, Auspex Scan. We all know what that does. A stratagem, play this as stratagem immediately after your opponent sets up a unit that is arriving on the battlefield as reinforcements within 12 of one of your Deathwatch infantry units. Your unit can immediately shoot at that enemy unit as if it were your shooting phase, but you must subtract 1 from all hit rolls. Does that even matter anymore? Like, to be honest, I guess it's second up, right? Second turn, because nobody's going to be deep striking in your grills to where you got to like.
Well, it's a good one. It's an in the pinch stratagem, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very in the clutch, right? And so that's a good one, and that's we've stolen a lot of the wording from that one for our proposed Overwatch rule, right? So like,
True.
2 CPs, trigger it, shoot. It's -1. I want to go a step further with mine though. So, but that's a good one. I have it done to me a lot. I actually have to be aware of it every time I play Marines. I'm like,
Absolutely.
okay. I'm like, all right. So make sure my obliterators are outside of that 12-inch range. Very gameable.
Yep.
Also, I want to lead a teaser out there for people. Remember Auspex Scan. I got something that I'm going to try to bring that up as a potential spoiler coming up here soon. So sorry, Robbie B, continue.
Then there's the obligatory relic, where you spend 1 command point, you get a relic. You spend 3, you get 2. It must be given to different Deathwatch characters. You can only use the stratagem once per battle. We've seen that. That's ported over pretty well. This one here, 1 command point, Hellfire Shells. You must play this just before a Deathwatch infantry model from your army attacks with a heavy bolter or heavy bolter profile of the Infernus heavy bolter. You may make a single hit roll with this weapon this phase. Subtracting 1 in normal and firing on Furnace Heavy Bolter's Heavy Flamer. However, if it hits, the target suffers D3 mortal wounds.
That's another port over from a lot of stuff. I like the fact that they just went ahead and added in the Infernus Heavy Bolter. Make sure they didn't get left out, but that is definitely something that we've looked at for some of the lists. If you got a scout squad and you got some extra points, might as well throw a Heavy Bolter on somebody.
If I had a nickel for every time I took my last wound on Magnus, last year when I was playing Magnus, if I had a nickel for every time my last wound was stripped away from a fucking scout heavy bolter with that fucking stratagem, I'd have like 15 cents.
Yep. I think it's a little restricted, but it's definitely worth notating. 3 command points, Orbital Bombardment. This one should be familiar to a lot of folks too. Can be used once per battle. If you have a Deathwatch Warlord that did not move during your preceding movement phase, instead of shooting with their weapon, you select a point on the battlefield visible to the Warlord and roll a d6 for every unit within d6 at that point, but subtracting 1 from the result if the unit being rolled is a character. On a 4-up, the unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. So you can shoehorn it in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it might work.
That's a great in the pinch, in a clutch stratagem.
Mm-hmm. 1 command point, Empiric Channeling. We've seen this as well. You can use a strat at the start of your psychic phase if a Deathwatch Psyker from your army is within 6 of at least 2 other friendly Deathwatch Psykers. They can immediately attempt to manifest 1 additional psychic power this turn. When attempting to manifest this power, you can add 2 to the psychic test.
Not a very utilizable. It says you have to have 3 Deathwatch Psykers to make that one pop off.
Yeah.
That's not your optimum HQ choice in that list.
Mm-mm. Now this one's cool. So this is called Teleportarium. Where I've heard that before. It costs 1 to 3 command points. You use this stratagem during deployment. For each command point spent, you may set up either 1 Deathwatch infantry unit or 1 Deathwatch dreadnought in a Teleportarium chamber instead of placing it on the battlefield. At the end of any of your movement phase, any units in the chamber can teleport into battle, set them up anywhere that is 9 inches away from enemy models. You can only use the stratagem once.
How many times have we talked about how amazing something like that is? That needs to be a universal stratagem. You're telling me that I have squads of Primaris Marines, Hell Blasters that I don't want to get shot off the board. Boom, CP. Dreadnoughts. Oh my dear Lord! Now I understand, Robbie B, why you guys prefaced this conversation by saying that the Deathwatch is not just a faction or whatnot. This is an actual keyword. So now, because my first thought is, you're telling me Leviathan Dreadnoughts?
You can deep strike them in.
I can just deep strike them in. But as of right now, as you were saying, the rules, you cannot do that. So we will have to wait with anxious fingers to click buy things. to hear if my Leviathan Dreadnoughts, if they're painted black, can just for 1 CP deep strike in. This is an absolute game changer that they get to have units deep strike in that traditionally would not be able to. I am very excited for something like this.
Yeah, this is like we've beaten this one to death. This just needs to be a fucking universal stratagem. Like making things like this a universal stratagem make the beta FAQ on deep striking unnecessary.
Also, you can deep strike in a Redemptor Dreadnought, which is really good. Gives you alpha strike immunity. Mm-hmm. Next up is 1 command point, Death to the Alien. Use this stratagem when a Deathwatch unit from your army is chosen to attack in a fight phase. Each time you roll a hit roll of 6 for a model in this unit during the phase, it can, if it was targeting a unit that does not have Imperium, Chaos, or Unaligned keyword, immediately make 1 extra attack against the same unit using the same weapon. These extra attacks cannot themselves generate further attacks.
Yeah, you're playing Chaos?
That one.
Xenos.
That's a good one. Because so we have that for free. Like we have Death to the False Emperor's Chaos, which lets us do that against Imperium. It's for free, but I only get to do it against Imperium. So so it's amazing. The damage overload that I can accomplish with some combos is amazing. Like, you go in there and you're like, let me get this prescience off, let me get this +1 to hit, let me get 7 attacks, let me get hit on 2s, let me reroll 1s. Ooh, I hit this many 6s. I get to roll those, hit on 2s, reroll 1s. It's amazing. And for just 1 simple command point, being able to say, now I can do it against this person. I think that there's a time and there's a place for that. 100% a clutch stratagem.
Yep. Then we've got the obligatory last chance stratagem, 2 command points only in death is duty end. Use the stratagem when a Deathwatch character from your army is slain. That model summons the strength for 1 final attack, can immediately either shoot as if it were shooting phase or fight as if it were your fight phase. We've seen that before. 3 command points, honor your brothers. Use the stratagem at the end of any fight phase. Select a Deathwatch infantry or biker unit from your army. That unit can immediately fight for a second time.
Yes, these are the 2 standard Imperial stratagems that get used a lot in a lot of the new Imperial lists. Like I play a lot of lists at Broadside Bash that had sprinkled in a few shield captains or jet bike captains or whatever, and that was their 2 favorite. There's the I'm on a bike with a Storm Shield Thunderhammer, I attack again, or you just killed me in close combat, I attack again. So these are going to be clutch. That they're obviously not new, but anybody who's hearing these stratagems for the first time, these are 2 of the best.
Also, along that same line, Wisdom of the Ancients. Use the stratagem at the start of any phase. Select a Deathwatch Dreadnought from your army until the end of the phase. You can reroll all hit rolls of 1 for Deathwatch units within 6, 1 command point.
Yep, that's another port over. That gets like my boy Alan uses that shit all day on me with his Leviathan Dreadnought. He's like, he's moving around, he's making angles, and he's like, oh, by the way, everyone over here still gets to reroll 1s.
Savage. Flak Missile, 1 command point. We've seen this before. Before a Deathwatch infantry model attacks a unit that can fly with a missile launcher, you only make 1 single hit roll for this weapon. This phase, however, add 1 to the hit roll, and if it hits, its target suffers D3 mortal wounds.
Anti-flyer missile.
2 command points, Adaptive Tactics. This is one we already saw from Warhammer Community, of course. Use the stratagem at the start of any of your turns after the first to change the current mission tactic for another one. If your Warlord is Watchmaster, you can use the stratagem for 1 command point.
Yep, we love it.
Good in certain combinations. Stem the Green Tide. These are the Xenos specific, the anti-Xenos ones. So the first one, 2 command points.
And these are the ones that I am giddy about. So
there's some good ones. So this is the anti-Orc one. Use the stratagem immediately before firing Overwatch with a Deathwatch unit from your army against a charging Orc unit. The opponent must subtract 1 from the charge distance for each model in the charging unit that was slain by your unit's Overwatch fire.
What a mechanic that we have yet to see so far. Unbelievable. Way to make, Kenny, did we not just talk last week how it doesn't matter if you fire Overwatch? Well, let me tell you what, I will never not fire Overwatch against Orcs. Because if I can somehow just do 1 or 2 wounds to some boys, that costs them 2 total inches.
Oh, and Juice, it gets better. Like when Orcs get really popular again after their new Codex drops, we'll be sneaking flamers into a lot of squads.
Oh, come to find out, they have some of the best flamers there are.
Be like, right? minus 7 inches to your charge.
Oh my dear Lord.
Savage. Got him. So that's a good one. One command point. Use a stratagem immediately after Deathwatch unit from your army has been hit by one or more Tau marker lights. Immediately remove all marker light counters from that unit. Womp womp.
So this is unbelievable. There, next week we're going to be breaking down some of the units that we like and some of the roles that they're going to fulfill. This is something that I am absolutely in love with for some of the units that I am going to showcase, because I want to put something in your grill that you're going to want to marker light up, that you're going to want to be able to use, that you're going to want to charge with your orcs and whatnot. So I'm going to be able to have the full volley, be able to use the full Monty of all these stratagems. Being able to ignore on 1 CP, this isn't even 2. There's some things that Tau can do that can burn stratagem points to make them, give them more marker lights. Now you're just saying everything that you've done, all the points you've spent, all the strategy you spend to get your 5 marker lights on my unit, 1 CP says it's done.
Immediately after you hit. Yeah, it's crazy. 2, command point intercepting volley. Use the stratagem immediately after your opponent moves an enemy Eldari unit that can fly in their movement phase. Pick a Deathwatch unit from your army within 12. That unit can immediately shoot at the enemy as if it were your shooting phase, but you must subtract 1 from the resulting hit rolls.
Are you absolutely kidding me? So we're just going to put, I'm just going to lay out a situation here. Let's deep strike a unit with your Teleportarium. Put it in the grill, in the
within
heart.
12, would you say?
Right. I would say I'm going to be within 9.
Yeah, I mean,
because that's what my rules tell me, that I can get that close. Now I'm going to be able to use this. So Kenny, Rob, this is the scenario. This is my teaser that I sent to earlier. Now I want to say Auspex scan. Someone deep strikes singing spears into my army, shining spears, whatever they're called. Right? Because that's what they do. They have fly. They deep strike warp spiders. They have the fly keyword, jump pack, whatever else. No, jet bike, excuse me. So they deep strike these units in, right? Turn 2. With my unit, I am going to now say, I'm going to Auspex scan them for 2 CP.
Yep.
Right? Can I then furthermore utilize intercepting volley and burn 4 CP to shoot this unit twice?
After your opponent moves an enemy Eldari unit that can fly in their movement phase. Immediately after your opponent. So, according to the rule book, on the core rules,
does deep striking? Deep striking counts as a move, right?
Right. It says you start your movement phase by picking one of your units and moving each model in that unit so you've moved until you've moved all the models you want to. A move can be any direction, to a distance, and
you have to look. You have to investigate what it says for when you enter through reinforcements, because it says it's done at the end of the movement phase, and I believe it has wording that says this unit can no longer further move this turn. So does it actually use the wording that like this model is counted as moving, or does it say like you can no further move? Like, so we have to figure out that if you
here we go. Units that are set up in this manner cannot move or advance further during the turn they arrive. So their entire movement phase is used up deploying to the battlefield.
So that's literally, so that's an interesting.
Oh, wait, here we go. Units that have arrived as reinforcements count as having moved in their movement phase for all rules purposes.
For all rules purposes.
Dude, I want you to know, I knew that that's what the rule was, and I'm sitting here very contently waiting on this say. So, like, I believe that this unit, underneath the rules that we have outlined in the main rule book, in the core rules, that if somebody deep strikes within 12 inches of you,
12, yeah,
you can shoot them twice right away.
Spend 4 CP to say bye-bye.
Or you deep strike next to them, rip them up.
Well, it's the same thing. It just shows you that. So there's a way in the Eldar turn to shoot them twice, and there's a way in my turn to shoot them twice.
Soul burst.
Yeah, you basically that's so dope. That's a really well thought out stratagem. I like it. Next one up, 2 command points, Synaptic Severance. The use a stratagem immediately before choosing targets for a Deathwatch unit from your army in your shooting phase. They can target Synapse creature this turn, even though they are not the closest enemy units.
That sucks.
Yeah, that's gonna. I don't believe it's
That
worth 2
sucks.
CP because most of the time, the characters that you're gonna be facing that are NIDs or whatever are gonna have are hive tyrants that you can face down anyway.
Mhm.
You know, there's probably a random Malanthrope in the back or Venomthrope.
It
in the
lets
back.
you take out the clutch -1 to hit guy real quick.
Yeah.
Thus, further advancing my statement of like -1 to hit. I am vastly unconcerned with it because everyone apparently has a way around it, and this is a really nasty way around it. Let me just kill that fool.
I mean, this is a clutch pocket thing if you need to take somebody out.
Sure.
Well, whatever. Next up, which we'll probably see more play.
Or Juice.
One
Hold on.
command-
Let me just go back 1 second, Rob. Or Juice. There's a million scenarios where you're playing like ITC missions where it's like kill something, hold an objective. What I mean, a lot of times your Malanthrope, you've made him your warlord. You told me this shit in certain formats, so he can be in the back and untargetable and camp an objective. This stratagem just gets them warlord and takes that objective away from you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm with it. Yeah, and again, like this can be done from not even necessarily because a lot of times in my mind I envision things close range. This can be used on a unit that's got 40-inch range firepower. Right?
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't have to be somebody who
The
just
target-
dude struck in.
Can target even if they're not the close enemy units.
Yeah.
It's all good. All right, 1 command point overkill. This stratagem uses stratagem at the beginning of your opponent's turn before they use reanimation protocols for Necron unit within 12 of a Deathwatch unit from your army. Your opponent subtracts 1 from reanimation protocols they make for that turn.
What a sick stratagem for 1 CP.
And
Are you
will
shitting
definitely
me?
be within 12.
I am so glad. This is so much more powerful, in my opinion, than the NID one.
Yep.
And so I am glad that the NID one wasn't 1 CP and this was 2. Like,
I feel like they got that backwards.
I'm so glad they got it the way that they did because 1 CP to have a 12-inch bubble around a unit like that you can pick from, absolutely.
Yeah, and Juice, it's crazy too because the NIDs are more popular right now.
Correct.
So it's like,
And I think they're just gonna be.
yeah.
You know, they're the bad guys of the 40K universe. You know.
Actually, I have to admit, according to metrics and statistics, all the coverage on the Tau has outweighed any other Xenos yet. Although I imagine it's going to get eclipsed by orcs. Just saying.
Numbers don't lie.
They don't. Shakira's hips might, but numbers don't. Next up is 2 command point Fuhrer.
Is it just
Fuhrer?
Ford? Is it Ford?
No. Doctrine. This stratagem uses stratagem just before a Deathwatch unit from your army attacks an enemy with a troops battlefield roll. Add 1 to the wound rolls. So this is the one where it's like the mission tactics. You just pay 2 command points. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them.
So for anyone who's just tuning in for Deathwatch, they have this amazing clutch innate ability mission tactics where they can just pick like a unit type and be like, we just for the rest of the game reroll 1s to wound that fool. And they have stratagems that'll let them switch that around based on what's needed to be happening. So this is a great one. The clutch reroll 1s to wound, being able to just pocket do that's really good. Wound manipulation is strong.
Well, no, these doctrines are the +1 to wound doctrines for those same battlefield rolls.
Oh, for the same battle. Oh, so this
So
is
it's the same thing, just
So now you're saying that you re-roll 1s and get +1 to wound.
Damn.
So again, let's put this in relative terms. If you have a strength 6 assault cannon and you're hitting something that is wounding something that's toughness 4, that means you wound on 3s. Well, if
Now
that
it's 2s.
type that you're shooting at is a troop choice, and that is the tactic that your Deathwatch team has up, then you get to re-roll 1s of that. So you're wounding on 3s, re-roll 1s. Now with 2 stratagems, 2 CP, 1 stratagem, you are now wounding on 2s, re-roll 1s. And they have that all the way down.
Yep.
Troops, HQ, elite, fast attack, heavy support. If I'm not mistaken, Robbie B is the heavy support and the Lord of War slot in that same.
Yeah.
You get a twofer for that
You
one.
get a twofer. It's called Malleus Doctrine.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. So there's 6 stratagems of just that. Then we've got 1 command point called Optimize Salvo. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase immediately before choosing targets for a Deathwatch unit from your army with a special issue ammunition ability. Different models in that unit can use different kinds of ammunition for that attack. Select which models will fire which type of ammunition before any hit rolls are made.
That's clutch. That's another clutch one that I can imagine myself using in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
So that just goes paired with me with the stratagem that allows you to get +1 to wound and reroll 1s to wound against Lord of Wars and heavy support. So do you know that if you have that tactic up and you burn those 2 CP, if you have a unit of 4 las cannons,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually engage a heavy support slot of your opponent's army and a Lord of War slot. You can split fire and benefit the both from both those. I was like, wow, do you know how many times that's going to happen? Do you know how many times somebody's going to have Magnus and a Plague Burst Crawler?
Mm-hmm.
Juice.
Right, that you're going to want to shoot both at?
What if there are also like some Eldar flyers on top of it?
Right? Like, I mean, this is unbelievable right now.
There is some stacks here.
Yeah, and then so on top of that, for 1 CP, the salvo that you were just talking about,
Mm-hmm.
it's that same concept. You can say half my unit of interceptors or intercessors, excuse me, I'm sorry, that half of them or their veterans or whatever else can use 4 models in that unit is going to go against a troop unit. 4 are going to go against something else where I want to use Kraken bolts versus a Vengeance bolt. So this is unbelievable. The versatility that the Deathwatch have is to be unmatched in the Imperium section.
Oh yeah, they're very granular. Like you can really dial them in. On the whole, like knocking down vehicles thing, we got the Clavis. This was actually in chapter approved. Use the stratagem in your fight phase. Select an enemy vehicle within 1 of a Watchmaster from your army. Roll a d6 on a 2-up. The vehicle suffers d3 mortal wounds. Just poof, d3 mortal wounds on
Pocket d3 mortal wounds is good for 1 CP.
Seems good. 2 command points. Decapitation Doctrine. Use the stratagem before a Deathwatch unit from your army attacks in the shooting or fight phase. Until the end of the phase, reroll failed wound rolls for attacks made by this unit that target the enemy warlord. Could be good if it's like Magnus or somebody.
Yeah, not going to come up as much, and it's a little pricey for 2 CP.
Mm-hmm.
They can't hit all of them out of the park.
No, it's pocket, right? 1 command point, tactical flexibility. Use the stratagem at the start of your movement phase. Select a Deathwatch unit from your army with the combat squad ability that has 10 models. A unit can immediately be split into 2 separate units, each containing 5 models. You can instead select a unit of Deathwatch aggressors, bikers, or inceptors with the combat squad ability that has 6 models, in which case the unit is immediately split into 2 separate units, each containing 3 models.
So I'm ready for another combo.
All right.
Teleportarium.
Mm-hmm.
1 CP. 10-man unit.
Mm-hmm.
I am now, if I have 3 10-man units of veterans, all have special weapons, ladies and gentlemen. All get to do different things. 3 CP at the end of my movement phase in which I bring them in, I now have 6 units spread out across the board.
That might need some FAQ. Use the stratagem during deployment.
During deployment, one of my 10-man infantry units I'm going to put in reserve. Now, this one says use the stratagem at the start of your movement phase.
You're not on the table at the start of your movement phase.
That is true.
Because you actually enter the battlefield at the end of the movement phase when you come
Correct. So I split them. So for example, for Gene Stealer Cult, I put stuff in reserve. When I decide to bring my models in, at that point in time, I say, oh, I'm going to bring this Magus in with this Neophyte squad. I'm going to lump them together, and whatever the result is, I get this. Or no, I'll bring the Magus in this time. I'll bring the Neophyte. I don't have to say that.
I'm saying for the most part in Warhammer, the way we play it right now is I'm going to play this stratagem at the beginning of the shooting phase to combat squad one of my units in reserves. That's because it's turn 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of my movement phase, I'm going to pay CPs and I'm going to combat squad this squad. What squad? Oh, the one I have in reserves. The one that's not on the table. The one that's literally... So like those are exactly the kind of rules that like for the most part, GW has been like steering us away from, right? Like units not on the table don't do things, right? Like they're not real. So so it's that's to me that's all that of all your combos, that's the only one that's a hard sell to me.
Okay.
To because then what you're also saying is like 3 separate units and reserves. Then at the start of my movement phase where I'm not on the table, they become 6 units in reserves. Then at the end of my movement phase, I deploy 6 different units in totally different locations.
Well, the only way that you could do it is if you did it over 3 turns, because you can't use the same stratagem more than once in a single phase. So on turn 1, you could feasibly do this on turn 2 and turn 3 to get 6. But it was just a thought.
Yeah.
I'm just coming up on these.
I don't know. I think it will definitely get FAQ. It's very ambiguous.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it's the hardest sell of the combos.
Sure.
Yeah. 1 command point, Tempest Shells. Use a stratagem before Deathwatch infantry model from your army attacks a vehicle with a weapon that can fire special issue ammunition. You only make a single hit roll with the weapon this phase. However, if it hits, the target suffers D3 mortal wounds.
One of my favorite pocket mortal wound abilities.
I mean, that's crazy that this book has 3.
Yeah,
the
3.
Heavy Bolter, the Tempest, and then the Clavis.
Yeah, and 2 of them you're probably going to do with your Watchmaster because he hits on 2, so you're going to want that guy, and he shoots during the shooting phase, does D3, runs in with the Clavis, or you play the Clavis, and then when you're within 1 inch, he does D3 more, and then if you have some dude from downtown with the Heavy Bolter, he already did D3. That's possibly up to 6, average
3 CP. 3d3 worth of mortal wounds.
Potentially 9 mortal wounds.
Yeah, well, if you roll good, but probably on average you're gonna roll.
I always roll.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
60% of the time
it works, every time.
Every time.
I believe in math. I believe in averages. But that's it. That's actually all of them because we kind of skipped 6 because 6 are inherently the same ability.
Cool. Well, that went faster than it normally goes because of that. So let's take a second. Let's maybe let's break down I feel like we should break down a few more things.
We got some relics that are pretty dope.
Yeah.
Probably 2 of the warlord traits are really good.
Hit me with them.
All right, so for warlord trait wise, we got Lord of Hidden Knowledge. You may recognize this. Once per battle, if your warlord is on the battlefield, you can reroll a hit roll, wound roll, damage roll, or saving throw.
That's a good one.
In addition, if your army is battleforged and your warlord is on the battlefield, roll a d6. Each time you use a stratagem on a 5-up, you gain a command point.
So I love the fact that for the 5-up, you get 1 back instead of 6.
Mm-hmm.
And it's online with saying every time a stratagem instead of a command point.
Right.
So I do like that.
You're only going to have, you probably get 3 or 4 of them back, give or take, depending on how many you play.
So Robbie B, if you don't mind, can we on the heels of that stratagem, which we believe that is as good almost as the Grand Strategist of where most people will want to use from Imperial Guard to get the CP factory, right? So this book is going to give you that. Also, we know because if you're listening to this, you've already heard, as Kenny has showcased, how good the Primaris units are, how good that your intercessors can have. After your 5-man squad investment, you can add up to 5 of any in any order.
Yep.
Aggressors, Hellblasters, Inceptors, or whatever the other I word is. And we know now, after watching battle reports of the Long War, after everything else, that the best way to play Primaris Space Marines, in our opinion, is painting them dark green and having Azrael standing next to them. Right. Will you read us this relic right here?
So Dominus Aegis, models with a storm shield only. Dominus Aegis replaces the bearer's storm shield. The bearer has a 3-up invulnerable save. In addition, if the bearer does not move in your movement phase, then until the start of your next movement phase, friendly Deathwatch models within 6 of the bearer gain a 5-up invulnerable save.
So this is doing exactly what Azrael was going to do, giving yourself now. Azrael is giving you a 4-up invulnerable to all your primary.
But Azrael is not.
In reality, that's exactly what you need.
Yeah. Azrael's not giving you 100 and fucking, what is it? Or 98 points investment or whatever this guy is, or 130 point investment. Yeah.
Yeah. Azrael is over the 200 mark, right? So, but like, in this book, it gives you all the weapons if you want to build mononess. Like, this is giving me everything else. I'm like, there's no way I can get behind Primaris Marines unless they're painted dark green with Azrael next to them because I want that invulnerable save. Now, this book is giving you some form of it, and I'm down with the 5-up.
Yeah, and just all you got to do is just stand back and not move and move.
No, yeah, just stand back.
The master doesn't have to move. That's what's awesome.
The unit. the unit can move, but this dude just needs to stand there, which is kind of what Agile
especially
does
with
for
the teleportarium that we're hot on. Like, you give this guy this one. First off, all captains and masters and all that shit should always have a movement thing, a bike or something. So this dude is always going to be in the right position for when your deep strikers show up to have not moved. So they're going to show up, hopefully in cover. So they have that +1 cover save. So like a bunch of 2 wound Primaris guys with essentially a 2-up armor save, annoying as fuck for the point investment, plus a 5-up invulnerable for when you pierce through with some like las cannon shots. It's good. That is a good ability. It's a solid relic. I mean, I think that stacks super well with Primaris.
Yeah, again, this is a book. So Custodes, for example, we want to talk about how good they are. They have one combo that you can help to the rest of the Imperium. That is the Praetor. No, the Praetor is the bikes. That is the I cannot remember. I'm sorry. But the gentleman, the elite
Vexillum,
choice, that is 80 points. Yeah, the Vexilla, excuse me. Thank you. For 80 points, you get a guy with a banner. And I think the one that I like the most is like 40 points, 35-ish, where he'll give all your Imperium keyword within 6 to 9 inches, something like that, a 5-up invulnerable save. But that's about the only combo that can happen within that codex to help everyone else. This book is full of combos everywhere.
Yeah, and this master on top of it rerolls 1s and 2s for the units. So like he's a twofer. Like he's like all my Deathwatch reroll 1s and 2s, and they get this 5-up invulnerable. That's that's solid. And you give him the bolter, so he's also like pocket D3 mortal wounds every fucking turn on a 2-up, rerolling 1s.
Yep, and he's your relic guy or whatever else. So he's also got the tactic is right nearby, right?
Yep. We'd have to look and see. I mean, it's obviously key to a character that can carry a storm shield, so I don't know exactly which one that is, but I imagine it's a chapter master or a. Also,
I definitely want to comment on PSI. He brought up there's someone in chat. Anyone listen to this? We do this live. Reavers. Now, Reavers are selectable for Deathwatch, right?
Yes,
they are. Yes,
Reavers are one of my one of my favorite Primaris units. I love their rules.
Take a bunch of those.
And he brings up Reavers or Carbimes seem really good with the stratagems and special ammo. Yeah, because the way they deploy without stratagems and stuff, really sneaky, and they'll be able to do some pocket shit. I love Reavers. I'm glad you brought that up, brother.
Yep, for sure. So we'll have to look to see who can take that exactly. Not that it super matters. It's just good in general, so we can all kind of plug and play that in there.
The storm shield relic you're referring to.
Yes, the Dominus Aegis. I think that's the big stuff. Like as far as the army goes, there's going to be a lot of blanket reroll. The Watch Master is going to give you reroll 1s to hit. There's not going to be any wound manipulation because that's done through the chapter tactics and then also the doctrines. But so Watchmaster is going to give you reroll everything. The captains are going to give you reroll 1s to hit. That's kind of your big blanket bonuses.
And Rob, we should take a second since we have we saved so much time with that to comment on the unit that everyone's talking about on the internet. So having discussed everything we just discussed, like obviously Teleportarium is going to be one of the most useful stratagems. So basically being able to say like my intercessor squad can deep strike. That's clutch as fuck. The fact that they can be 10 models strong and after 5 intercessors, they can have 3 Hellblasters, 1 aggressor, and 1 inceptor. So they can take advantage of what the aggressor special rule is for the unit. They can take advantage of the fly keyword, leaving combat and still shooting. So have 3 Hellblasters and still 5 dudes with special issue ammo as a blade of wounds. 10 dudes less than 300 points. 10 models.
It's an 8th edition Super Friends unit where the Super Friends aspect from 6th and 7th edition where you can join multiple people together to get universal special rules benefited from the entire unit, right? So that's exactly what's happening here. The aggressor is giving the unit to include the plasma, Hellblasters, and whatnot, the ability to move in advance and all that stuff, not taking any penalties. The Inceptor is saying that you basically have air quotes fly keyword. You don't have the fly keyword, but you can fall back and still shoot as if you had the fly keyword. So that's something Hellblasters have been wanting this entire time. And now the icing on the cake for this entire 10-man unit is it's under 300 points, and it's your troop choice. It's your obligatory troop choice that you're going to have to take anyway to create a patrol detachment. Take 2 of these, or God bless, if you want to start building an army and not just use this as supplemental, take 3 of them for 900 points.
Basically,
and I'm not going to say it's a waste of 900 points.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely my favorite flavor in the Deathwatch Codex, because you combine it with all these rules. Combine it with, we're going to deep strike in, we're going to be in cover, we're going to be in range of the master on bike, we're going to reroll 1s and 2s, we're going to have a 5-up invulnerable built in, we're going to spend these command points, we're going to ace a tank, we're going to do all this thugs thizzle. It's definitely my favorite Deathwatch flavor unit. And it's going to be seen a lot. People are talking about it. It's super awesome to interact with. That combined with something
all the stratagems.
All the stratagems, like it is literally, it's going to take out a fort like by itself with just all the basic bitch combos that we have. It can do like upwards of 18 wounds to a infantry unit of to a trash mob. It shut down a 14 wound tank, all relatively easily from range, while also being really difficult to interact with. Doesn't have to touch you, doesn't have to get near you. It just can show up where it needs to, make the magic happen. It's a great unit.
And then simultaneously, what I like about it is it can be as large of a footprint as you need or a smaller one, depending on what army you're going against. You're playing against orcs. Hey, maybe you want to string out, or you're playing against Necrons. Maybe you want your footprint as large as possible because for 2 CP, you're going to make Necrons be -1 or 1 CP. You're going to be making Necrons around you, take a -1 for their reanimation protocol. Or if you want to get tight, and deep strike in and blow something up, you can do that. Or again, if you want to string your unit out, or keep an average size to utilize and try to take over some Eldar, as we've talked about using all 4 of the CP that we've had. Like, it is a unit. Now, I have to say, in the webcast tonight, I went hard and I made a stance saying that I believe unit is really good, and I still want to take 2 seconds to talk about it here.
Oh, that's Hermes.
For anybody who does not feel like we had, I think it's Gun Raptor or something like that in the webcast tonight, was like, yo, I'm not a Primaris guy. Does this book still offer me something? And I'm going to say, yes, sir. By damn it, it does. And it does in veterans. It does in bikes. It does in the Corpus, or the Black Star, the Corvus. It also does in your assault terminators. For 299 points, you get a 5-man terminator unit that has 3 assault cannons that have power fist, and also 2 other individuals that have storm shield thunderhammers. Right? Mm-hmm. That is a lot of firepower coming down with your 18 assault cannon shots, utilizing every stratagem, every +1 to wound, reroll all to hit with your Watchmaster, everything else that it's done. Plus, it's got multiple wounds, 2-up and 3-up saves, and it is a juggernaut in close combat, considering the power fist and thunderhammers that they have access to. So don't just think that this stratagems can only be used with Primaris. Everybody who's got Terminators, Deathwatch Terminators, everything outside that, they are still very, very playable.
Yeah, we went off on those Terminators for a while. We love them. We decided that the limitation was that they can only do about 9 wounds to a tank, so they need luck to actually shut down a regular tank, even with the stratagems. But they can potentially drop about 15 to 18 trash mob people. So they're still really good. And obviously, if they can close the distance, make that 9-inch charge, they'll fuck some shit up. They're a really good option, and I would like to see both in lists, right? I like the other list. I like the other unit we discussed more because it's a little cheaper and actually can shut down about almost the same amount of trash mob people, about the same, but it can shut down big tanks. It can shut down, with all of its stratagems, it'll bring down a Storm Raven.
Mm-hmm.
So I love both units. I think the Deathwatch is pretty good, pretty exciting. Like some of the good flavor, like since Dark Eldar and now, like these are some of the most flavorful decks I've seen.
Yeah, I agree.
Who's writing their books right now?
Mike Haspel.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Wait a second. Are you telling me that 2 codexes that have come out since Mike Haspel has been on his sabbatical of kicking ass in the
word
author realm
wordology
has simultaneously been 2 of the best books that GW has put out?
Yes.
I'm going to say,
Coincidence?
I think not.
And before we get out of here and jump into this interview we have lined up tonight, I think we should also just talk one more second about the Corvus, because we've been joking. We've been joking about it all night about how still overpointed. Took a 10-point reduction. Still doesn't kill what you think it's going to kill, but it has a troop capacity. And there's still a unit that changed the game briefly in 7th edition. There is a weapon, the heavy. Heavy frag cannon, Deathwatch heavy frag cannon.
That actually went down too. It's 25 a pop now.
That is one of the sickest guns in the game right now, and you can still shove 4 of those in a Corvus, and you can still shove a Corvus down someone's throat. Turn 1,
and the Corvus for 5 points can reroll
once
to save.
To save.
Yeah, on its save. Yeah. So again, for my thing is, and if it's one of those things you're not going to put any models in it, and you're like, no, I just want it because it's a flyer and it's got firepower. So, no, it actually doesn't. Don't think about it like that. 230 points for some hurricane bolters and 12 assault cannon shots and 2 random missiles is not enough. If you aren't utilizing the carrying capacity that it has, you need to be taking another flyer.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategies we've talked about with it. One of my favorite is that you can get up in the cut, shoot them up, disembark the frag guys, decimate a unit, shoot a unit with the Corvus while hovering, moving 20 more inches, and assaulting with the Corvus. I love it in this capacity. You just move 20 inches behind the line, shoot this unit, kill something with the frag launchers, and then tie up their biggest shooting unit and just charge it. Like, people don't see that coming when you jump the line with a flyer.
Yeah, any cat said you'll never see that coming.
Nope.
You know, and it also has the pocket ability to jump the line and shoot a character hiding in the background. So that's the other thing you can do. So I still think there's play, but you have to be, like what you said, to echo him, you have to be putting motherfuckers in it or you're not utilizing it. And you start running out of points quick with the Deathwatch army. But I think that's enough on this before we do our interview, guys. So we're going to take a commercial break. And then when we come back, we're going to be joined by the legendary Sean Nayden, Team America captain, ETC.
Dear veterans, quickly, make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
Veterans, I've got news for you. Get your best deals online at dicehead.com. Long War Vets, call or email for your best vet deals. That's dicehead.com. elricshobbies.com is your exclusive portal to upgrading your hobby. When you sign up at thelongwar.net, you gain an instant promotional discount good for 10% off at Elric's Hobbies. elricshobbies.com.
Finally, the Long War swag is here. longwarswag.com, the official home of Long War merchandise. We've got a range of merchandise exclusive to the Long War brand, Next Level Painting and Spikey Bits. Definitely log in today while supplies lasts. And we're back, joined tonight by the legendary Sean Nayden for a clutch interview. Sean, how's it going, brother?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
I'm doing good. The North Carolina Cat Command Center, how you guys doing?
Unbelievable.
Oh, are we here? Hi, I'm here. Hi. Hey, Sean, what's happening?
Hi, North Carolina.
Hello. Hello from
Cat
sunny
Commander,
North
I
Carolina.
hear you.
Is it, where do you live, Sean, that it's just broad daylight out right now?
We are in the Banana Mania room, live from Connecticut.
I believe that's the sun.
For anyone who's listening to this and not visualizing it, let me paint a picture for you. the sun is shining in that banana-rama room or whatever the fuck it's called.
It's a very bright room.
It is brutal.
We try.
So
I spend so much time in the sun that when I come home, I like to also be in the sun.
No doubt. And I know you've been working hard lately, so obviously we don't want to take up too much more of your time. But we got a lot of exciting things to talk about tonight. The first thing I wanted to ask you, just want to get this one out of the way. How you feel about Tau?
Tau. Is that a Codex?
All right.
They're an Age of Sigmar army.
Age of Sigmar. Oh yeah. Oh, I think they've got bullets and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And bows and arrows.
All right. Interesting. Let me ask you another question. What kind of list do you think we're going to see at the ATCs this year?
Some really strong ones, I feel.
What kind of units?
I just need to know, when you say strong, are you talking about girth or length?
I think you're going to see a good variety.
Some small, powerful things, and some large, powerful. I mean, this is actually groundbreaking.
Sean, are you trolling me?
Never.
Tight. Welcome to the show. We love you, Doug. We missed you. So I know we got some special things going on. We got some interesting stuff. So I'm gonna turn it over to Juice and Sean real quick.
Yeah, Juice and I have been talking a lot since Adepticon, and as the captain of ETC with full powers invested in myself, I think at this time there could no better coach to help our team reach its maximum effort this year than Juice. Is that something you'd be interested in, Juice?
Wow, for the ETC team?
For the ETC team, for America.
Wow, that is absolutely for America. First off, there's nothing that I would rather do. I wake up and piss excellence for America. You know,
America.
What flavor excellence?
Yeah,
Juice.
Some powerful flavors, girth wise, and some powerful flavors
with
length wise.
More length than girth than ever before. Juice, would you say you're just a big hairy American winning machine?
That's it. If you don't chew big red, then fuck you. Right? Wow, that is what an absolute honor, man.
Prune candy.
I appreciate that. It is one thing that I have to admit that some people don't know as much as they should about the ETC. That is something that over the last month we brought you on, and we really want to bring a lot of light to that. And it is amazing to know that I am going to be in some form of fashion, helping with that, doing whatever we can, and I can, to help facilitate that. I am very stoked. Croatia, that's where we're going, right?
Yeah, Zargab.
That's
You almost got it.
I'm not a pronouncer.
Zapagap?
So I could be wrong.
Juice, I would ask you.
Croatia.
I would ask you to refrain from insulting the homeland.
The Croatians.
The Croatians.
I'm sorry.
The literal baddest beatdown artist on the planet, like Mirko Krokop. I don't know, the current heavyweight champion of UFC is a Croatian immigrant who literally murders people. Stipe Miocic. Dude will murder your ass.
One of my goals definitely with taking over the team this year was to broaden the team's impact in the 40K community and increase the awareness.
Yep, and
as we move forward.
Sean, you just did it there. You brought somebody on that is willing to insult some major heavy hitters. No, I'm just kidding.
I invited you on the team right now, and I might have to kick you off by the end.
That's right. Simultaneously in the same 5-minute interview. No, man, I am absolutely pumped for it. Thank you so much. That is an absolute honor. And Sean, I think you hit it right on the head of let's do everything that we can to make everybody understand that ETC is not a far distant tournament that happens that is secret. That happens in backdoor alleys, and right next
it does
to
sometimes. We've been
the right next to the ping pong champion.
I think you're thinking of Beer Fest.
Yeah, that's what I was literally about to be like.
That's pretty close though, Rob.
Yeah, Balls of Fury. But either way, so let's bring light to it. Let's let people understand that ATC is amazing. And what happens when you bring ATC together in an 8-man team event? You have something that's been going on for years. And again, what better way than to send 9 individuals from the United States of America, best country ever, to take on the rest of the world. So, Sean, I am honored to be a part of this endeavor with you.
Yeah, I've been really excited with the whole process this year in picking the team that I wanted and selecting a bunch of clutch individuals like yourself to really represent us well.
Yeah, and I think that this is the first year that it's happened in a while now. Where, matter of fact, I think this might be the first time ever, if I'm not mistaken, Sean, where it actually, obviously, you as the controlling owner doesn't say that you won't take everything into consideration, obviously, but like you just don't win Nova and you're in. You just don't win Adepticon and you're in, as it has been in the past. Then there's like, 3 of the 8 spots gone, right? Now you're like 100% of whoever is on this team is hand-tailored and picked by you. And to talk about Kenny and I's conversation maybe 6 months ago when we found out about this, we've said that this could be one of the best teams that Team USA has ever sent over. Shy of like, obviously Ben Molee, shout out to one of the best guys in 40K there is, right? Like all around amazing individual. I think they took 3rd, right?
Yeah, Ben's team took 3rd. That was the highest placing for America. Right.
And so like we truly believe that if you're not hamstrung, not saying that people have been on in the past isn't good or anything else, but like a team is more important than, 8 really good 40K players.
Yeah, no doubt. To comment on that, like in Ben's era, Ben obviously was one of the best. That was kind of in the earlier days that we started like sending people over there and stuff like that. So what happens by creating a system that says like, hey, you got to win X amount of events and then you're on the team. What happens very quickly is, we game that, right? And then all of a sudden people are, oh, I need to win this game or I don't get on the team, and people are colluding, right? And I'm not naming names, but like that happens. And so that was kind of early enough where like it was just a strong merit of a team. Then I'd say a lot of what happened after that was a lot of people gaming the system that had been built and then taking it back to like, what is the role of a captain? The captain should be the leader, and decisive, decision-making processes like this. At the end of the day, like that dude has to have real power to veto, to make decisions. And that's where you guys are at right now. I think this is going to be the strongest team you've ever had. And to just paraphrase for some of the people who are watching or listening to this, Sean Nayden, the current American team captain of the American ETC team, has just
of America
has just, I can say America 2 more times. He just invited Juice to be the coach, and the coach is the 9th man in the team. And what does the coach actually contribute to the team, Sean?
The coach is actually pretty important and detailed responsibility. Most years you want somebody that they need to be still a good 40K player, because if somebody gets sick or injured, we had a situation last year where I got food poisoning, and up until even 10 minutes before my game, I almost thought I wasn't going to be able to play. And we had our coach at the time, Kurt Klaus, prepping, and he had been in all our like practices and knew all our lists. He was prepping himself mentally to have to step in and play. So that's at an extreme level. But even on top of that, in between the rounds, you're running back. The coach and the captain are the only people that can talk to all the other 8 players. So the coach is running up and down the tables, checking in with every guy. They can't give them strategic advice or anything like that, but they can see, oh, how do you think your game is going? Or is it better than we expected? Because you've already done tons of algorithms and stuff on what points you expect to get in each match. So they're like, oh, I'm plus or minus from what our expectation is. And if enough people are minus, you need to tell some of the people that are usually pluses to either push harder or go aggressive, because the team might be losing at that point. And so they've got to be really able to diagnose games that are going on across 8 tables and, translate that back to the captain and be like, somebody's in the tank, somebody's going down. Who else can we expect to get more points to get that team victory?
Yeah, and then just so everybody understands, that is ETC, as we've talked multiple times before. This is a 8-on-8 1v1 matchup, right? And as Sean has highlighted, even though you might be playing right next to your opponent, or right next to your fellow team member, you can't say, "Yo, I'm about to get 18 points. I know I was only supposed to get 15, but I'm about to get 3 more, or I'm about to get 5 less." You have to keep all this information to yourself. So the rest of the team is not of the wiser. So they're going into the game with a game plan, and whatnot. So I am fully ready and excited to be able to jump in, fulfill whatever role needed, try to give any kind of insight that I can. Many hands make light work, I believe. Tupac said that.
Yep.
Not Confucius, but no, this is an absolute honor. I'm still a little shocked. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Shocked is a bad word.
I have a couple things to interject. One of the questions coming up in chat is, can we talk about who's on the team at this point, Sean?
Sure, if you guys want to.
Yeah, we'd love to. I think the world would like to know a little bit about that right now.
All right, so the 8 players that are currently going to Croatia with me are myself, Nick Nadavati. I don't know if some of you have maybe heard of him.
The real best player in 40K. Right.
In Ever. Oh, darn it. He is pretty good. Andrew Gagno, who was captain last year. Nick Rose, former great and rising star again. Brad Chester, one of the best international players that America has really ever had.
Also, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Also, the individual who served me my loss at Adepticon. Amazing game. Shout out. Yeah. Shout out Brad Chester.
Many people have felt the sting of loss from the shortest man in 40K.
Yeah, if there's a person that I'm going to lose to and simultaneously want to drink a beer with, that I hadn't really spent a lot of time with, it's him. Like, great game.
But he's not going to drink a beer. He's going to sip a fine wine. That's more his.
that's his style. Well,
or Diet Coke. And I'll tell you one thing about me and Brad Chester. When we're at a dinner, I will order a Coke and he will order a Diet Coke, and there's 100% guarantee that the waitress will bring them the opposite direction, and we will both take one sip, immediately place down, and shift.
Not even speak.
It's an immediate response.
So you were up to Brad Chester. Sorry.
No problem. Tony Kopak, great player. Who else do I hang out with?
On there?
Oh yeah, that guy. Largest thumbs in 40.
Goddamn lacrosse playing Kurt.
Goddamn lacrosse playing Kurt is definitely on the team. He's really good at the whole matchup process and breaking down teams. I'm sure Juice remembers from when we outpaired his team at ATC last year and put him in the dumpster tailspin. It
was definitely nothing that we couldn't overcome and still pulled out a victory.
You did not.
I want you to know no, not a victory that day against you.
Okay.
We ended up taking third. I'm still okay with that.
No, you guys did great. And our most recent addition, Steve Pamprine, who has done really good with his Nurgle list at both LVO and Adepticon, and that was an important thing. We had determined in a lot of our discussion that we needed a Nurgle list, not necessarily what that Nurgle list would look like, and so we brought Steve on very recently to fill that last spot.
Yeah, what a squad of heavy hitters! Absolutely.
Yeah, I think. I really like this where he gets to pick it like high school rules, because it allows us to put our best foot forward as a country, because you already know everybody's strengths and weaknesses. Like you said, he gave a brief, little snippet of each player and what they, their strengths and weaknesses were. And that's good, because you're not only do you guys have to gel and work together and have the whole coach aspect and the captain aspect, but you also have to overcome the whole language barrier. And people play differently a little bit because, each codex is actually written just slightly different. So there's always going to be ambiguities and little things. I mean, I'm just assuming, obviously, you're the expert, Sean, because you've been there. But, that's a huge thing. Language barrier right off the bat is huge. So having the best people and trying to make the best moves, going there. And, you're obviously, you're pretty good at 40K, I hear. You just said, hey, ATCs, y'all's team got third. At Adepticon, top 16. I don't know how you placed overall, like what, sixth or something, or maybe or something like that.
11th, I think. Once all the things
all right,
were said.
All the maths. But either way, that's out of how many people? I think that's setting everything up for the best possible outcome. Just all of these variables, and plus, coming on this platform talking about this too, it's so much exposure. Because a lot of people aren't even tracking ETC. They're just finding out about ATCs. And we're interest in 40K is at an all-time high after 8th edition. Like this is perfect.
Yeah, no,
yeah, picking the team definitely helped with some of the, like we talked about with the qualification process. The qualification process can get gamed, and also you might end up with 3 or 4 guys all playing Grey Knights, say in 5th edition, and then you have to and you can only take one Grey Knight player, but you've qualified 3 or 4 Grey Knight players, and you're like, guys, which one of you guys wants to learn a new army? Well, it's all 3 of you. So,
and it's personalities. You know, like just because you have some of the best players in the room doesn't mean that it's the best. If at the end of the day, at this point, it's a team sport. You know, if one of your players is like pissed off because, you know, he has to take an L this round, you know, it's the same concept with ATC. Just, you know, you have to know your role on the team. You have to know that this is a team sport. It's not an individual sport at this point. And whatever your role is to benefit the team, that's what you have to do, you know. And if you get a couple bad apples because they came up with some broken list that, you know, everyone knows is about to get fixed, that everyone knows is this, you know, and they're just good with this one exploit. And then, you know, hey, let's actually play 40K, right? You know, that they can't do it. That's actually something that Sean, I believe we talked about a lot, and something is that you pride yourself on, that, and myself to some extent, of like, it took me a while before I was willing to just make the concept saying, I'm going to play whatever the powerful shit is, right? I finally had to say that to myself at the tail end of 7th and going into 8th, right? But before that, it's like, I literally was just going to play whatever I liked, you know? So that's one thing about how dynamic of a player that you are, is the fact that you actually don't care about what the most powerful army is. Whatever's cool to you, whatever you enjoy, you are going to put your own spin on it, and obviously beat people down with your thugness, you know, whether that comes via girth or length. Yeah, I am excited to be a part of this. Sean, I can't wait for more in-depth conversations that we're going to have.
Let me wrap
about this moving forward.
Let me wrap this interview up with a couple closing marks before we jump into the rest of the episode. One of the things we did talk about, though, which is real serious, is like generating the awareness, right? Building a bigger brand, essentially, for the American Team Championship, so that we can get this amazing organization on the map, like the way it's conducted in other countries. So you can definitely be confident in knowing that really soon there will be places on the internet to go where we're going to be trying to generate support, possibly fundraisers, trying to bring that style to our team, trying to bring that legitimacy, trying to help create an e-sport essentially here. But I don't know what you would call it, because it's tabletop, a T-sport. I don't know. Is it? We'll see if that's
T-sport.
I like it.
T-sport.
I like G-sport. But
Google search that and see what comes
up. G-sport. So I mean, and that's where we're at. We're committed to this. We're committed to excellence. Committed to bringing hobby back, and bringing hobby back is essentially the marriage of these two things: competitive play, hobby play, casual play. We're trying to merge those together, and the only way to do that is to get more eyes on this scene than ever before. And I think the reason we all came together here is that we all agree with that.
Absolutely, it's going to be awesome.
Make sure to head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of Long War today.